Hello folks, today we'll be discussing the recently passed Digital Personal Data Protection Act. This is one legislation that is relevant to all organizations and individuals. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 is the latest legislation governing how organizations will process, retain, and protect the digital personal data of individuals. Each organization that collects and processes digital personal data of any individual, including its own employees, will be required to comply with these new regulations. It is important to note that personal data can only be processed with proper consent and for certain outlined legitimate uses. The DPDP Act defines personal data as any data about an individual who is identifiable by or in relation to such data. This will include all sorts of personally identifiable information such as their name, address, phone number, Aadhaar, PAN card, passport, etc. No, personal data can only be used for the specific purpose for which consent was given. Consent must be free, specific, informed, unconditional, and unambiguous, and it is limited to the personal data necessary for the specified purpose. Any part of consent that violates the provisions of the Act or other applicable laws will be considered invalid. Here are a few additional responsibilities your organization will have to fulfill. 1. Obtaining individuals' consent before collecting or processing their personal data. 2. Ensuring comprehensive security measures for all personal data. 3. Providing data principals access to their personal data and enabling corrections. 4. Reporting breaches to both the board and affected individuals. Beyond these, the DPDP Act introduces further provisions necessitating a review of your organization's data processing policies and practices to ensure alignment and compliance with the law and its upcoming rules. Yes, subject to certain conditions under Clause 16 of the Act, the central government has the authority to limit the transfer of personal data by a data fiduciary to a foreign country or territory as may be notified. However, this clause doesn't prevent any existing Indian law that offers greater protection or restrictions on such transfers from applying, whether for specific data or certain data fiduciaries. The DPDP Act permits the processing of personal data on behalf of others for any activity related to the offering of goods or services to individuals whose data is being collected only under a valid contract. As a data processor, you will need to comply with the technical and organizational safety standards set out by the person or organization you have contracted with. Yes, the DPDP Act enumerates certain legitimate uses under which the data can be processed without the express consent of an individual. One such legitimate use is employment-related data collection. As such, if you are an employer seeking personal data for safeguarding yourself from loss or liability, such as prevention of corporate espionage and maintenance of confidentiality of trade secrets, you are allowed to collect and process the same under the new law. However, you cannot use this data for unconnected purposes such as marketing your products. A data principal can request you for a summary of their personal data which is being processed by you and the processing activities undertaken by you with respect to such personal data. Data principals can also request you for the identities of all other data fiduciaries and data processors with whom you have shared the personal data, along with a description of the personal data so shared. Note that you have to put in place a grievance redressal mechanism that facilitates this. In case of personal data breaches, the DPDP Act requires data fiduciaries to intimate the Data Protection Board of India as well as each affected individual of such breach. The manner and timeline of the same, however, will be prescribed in the coming months in the rules. Again, note that your reporting obligations under other laws do not change, for example, the certain directions. And that's all, folks. Hope we have been able to shed some light on this crucial legislation. And as always, we're here for any further questions you have or services you need to safeguard your organization. Thank you for watching.